3 days later, we are back on this Toyota Prius. I ordered all the parts that we need from the Toyota dealership. All our parts came in. The customer gave us the go-ahead to do everything. Actually, she gave us the go-ahead from the time she dropped off the vehicle. She said, Dio, I trust you. Fix everything that needs to be fixed to get this vehicle running well. So we got the parts. I'm gonna show you the parts and then we're gonna install them. After that, this vehicle will be good to go. Now, there are also a couple recommendations that I made. We know that this engine is running lean because of a defective purge valve. We did the testing. We determined that based on the test that we did. I told the customer what we found. We're gonna replace the purge valve. I asked the customer if she has already done a tune-up, if the spark plugs were already replaced on this vehicle, because I looked at the mileage. The vehicle is also due for spark plug replacements. The customer told me that she hasn't replaced the spark plugs yet, so this will be the right time and the best time to replace the spark plugs. We're gonna go ahead and replace the spark plugs as well. Now, as I was looking at the mass airflow sensor, I called the Toyota dealership. Although we cleaned the mass airflow sensor last time, I asked the dealer how much the mass airflow sensor was. It was pretty cheap, so I decided to also replace the mass airflow sensor while we're here. So we're gonna replace the purge valve, the mass airflow sensor, and our spark plugs. So, cameraman Kyler, thanks for being here. We're going to show you guys the parts, and then we're gonna get this vehicle fixed. So, I have my new parts over here. So, here are our spark plugs. So we got everything from Toyota. OEM parts. This is how I like to fix vehicles. I always like to recommend installing OEM parts. So this is the part number for the plugs. This over here is our evap purge valve. Okay, let me see. Let's get it out of the box. Look, nice and shiny. And then here is our mass airflow sensor. This is the part number for the mass airflow sensor. Okay, so the mass airflow sensor that we have on the vehicle is not really bad, but I'm just gonna be on the safe side of things, okay? That's why I'm replacing it. The customer lives far away, you know, although we cleaned the mass airflow sensor, but since it wasn't cheap, I was like, you know what? It's a good insurance policy. I said, you know what? Let's get this replaced. That way, you know, the customer is not going to come back here for another lean code because, you know, 2 or 3 months from now, the mass airflow sensor that we have on the vehicle can give up, and that can also cause lean codes to be set in the engine computer. You know, what I don't want to have is having a customer that comes back, you know, 1 or 2 months from now saying, oh, you fixed a lean code a month ago, why this is gone, why the same code keeps coming back? You know, we might tell her that it's the sensor, now it's the mass airflow sensor. If the mass airflow sensor was crazy expensive, if it was a crazy number, I wasn't gonna replace it, but it was pretty cheap, so, you know, I'm just gonna go ahead and replace it. So now, our tag cover is falling here. All right, so now there's one more test I want to do before we replace our purge valve. So we know the purge valve is stuck open. I am going to use this vacuum gauge just to be, you know, 1000% sure that the purge valve is the problem. We know it is, but I'm just gonna double check again. So remember last time I used this spark plug to plug the tube that comes from the purge valve. So I'm gonna remove this spark plug that we put there. I'm gonna connect my vacuum gauge. Let me see, I'm gonna put it over here. And then I'm gonna connect the vacuum gauge to this tube that comes from the purge valve. So now I'm gonna start the engine. If the purge valve is stuck open, we should have vacuum on this gauge, okay? If we have vacuum on the gauge, because the purge valve is normally closed. It's a normally closed valve. So right now when we first start the engine, the purge valve should be closed. if it's stuck open, it's going to allow vacuum to flow through the evap tubes, and vacuum will go back to the fuel tank or to the charcoal canister constantly. So when we start the engine on a good purge valve, it should be closed and it shouldn't allow vacuum to flow down this tube. So since we have a gauge connected to it, if the purge valve is allowing vacuum to go back to the tank, we should see this gauge move. So cameraman Kyler, if you can focus on this gauge over here, it shouldn't move. If it moves, that means we have a problem. I'm gonna start the engine. Is it moving? Yeah? Okay, so that's our problem. So as you can see, we have vacuum on the gauge, so our purge valve is stuck open. Okay, so I knew this because when we plugged that tube with the spark plug last time, our fuel trim numbers got better, but I just wanted to double check. So now I feel 1000% comfortable about replacing the purge valve. Now, some of you might ask me, well, you were wrong last time, you replaced the O2 sensor. The O2 sensor really threw me off, guys. I was talking to cameraman Kyler off camera earlier. It's the 00 that I saw on the second O2 sensor graph, the second O2 sensor data pid, that really threw me off. I was like, this O2 sensor should be moving when you start the engine. We should have, even when the O2 sensor is bad, it can stick lean or rich, but it's not going to be stuck at 00. I thought that was a problem, but I guess it wasn't. So again, we replaced that sensor. It's still there. The customer is not paying for it. I am paying for it, okay? That was my bad. It's a mistake I made. The customer is not paying for that. So now I'm gonna get our gauge out of the way. We're gonna remove the air filter box. So I'm gonna replace the purge valve first, and then we're gonna replace the spark plug. So this should be pretty straightforward. So we're gonna remove the top of the air filter box. So I'm gonna undo this. Okay. Now, I'm gonna show you how to remove all these components, but when it comes to the spark plugs, I'm just gonna show you how to replace one, and then the rest of them I will do off camera. So we got this piece removed. Now we're gonna remove the lower air filter box. Let's get this removed over here. Okay, so this should now, we can lift this whole piece. So I'm removing all the 10mm bolts that hold the air filter box housing, the air filter housing in place. Everything is so tight over here. There. So we're gonna get that removed. So this is the purge valve. Okay, as you can see, this tube over here, this is the tube that we plugged, and we were connecting to this tube when we used our vacuum gauge. So that's our purge valve. I'm gonna disconnect the electrical connector of it. And then it has a little bracket. And then there's a tube here. Yeah, we're gonna disconnect this tube. And then how do you get to the bracket? Oh, there's a little, so it looks like the bolt for the purge valve bracket is a 12 mil. Yeah, right there. Nice. Very good. Okay. So I'm sorry, my hand is gonna be in the way. Just for a little bit. Okay, so here comes our purge valve. Check this out. Nice. So that's the old one right there. I'm gonna grab the new one. So here's our brand new purge valve. As you can see, it looks identical to the one that we have. New one comes with the bracket. Thank you, Toyota. Not that we needed it. We could have used this one. Okay, so this is gonna go right here. Okay, so this is the bad part. We're gonna put it back in the box, and this is gonna go in the trash. So now we're gonna install this new one. So this is gonna go right here. Nice, okay. I got the bolt started. And then I'm gonna connect the tube that goes down here. Very nice. Then we're gonna tighten the bolt. Nice. Perfect. All right, we got the brand new one installed. I'm gonna install its electrical connector, just like that. Nice. All right. And then the hose is gonna go over here, and then this one's gonna come down here. All right. So we got the purge valve replaced. So now we're gonna install the air filter box, the bottom end of the air filter box. So at this point, we're doing the reverse process of the removal process of this little piece over here. So that wasn't too bad, right? Usually, when it comes to diagnosis, the actual repair sometimes doesn't take long. It's not really hard. Usually the repairing is not as hard. Usually what's hard is figuring out the problem. Because for the most part, diagnosis is usually, 85% of the time doing the research and testing the circuits and stuff. And then once you know what's wrong, and then doing the fixing can be very easy sometimes. We're gonna tighten this one, and then there's another one over here. All right, so now we're gonna install our filter. The filter looks new, so we don't need to replace that. And then, so we're gonna replace our Mars airflow sensor. I'm very careful now. I used to lose these little screws a lot because I would drop them. Yeah, you learn from mistakes. I used to drop them, and since that's so tiny, then you can't find them anymore. Okay, so here comes the old one. Now we're gonna install the brand new one. Oh, nice. Shiny. Okay, now we're gonna install this tube. This back on. Okay, I'm gonna connect our mass airflow sensor, electrical connector, just like that. And then this tube is gonna get connected here. All right, now, before we replace the spark plugs, I would like to start the engine again. We're gonna connect, just remember a few minutes ago we connected the vacuum gauge to this tube that comes from the purge valve. So Kyler, if you can focus on that tube, I'm gonna grab our vacuum gauge. We're gonna connect it to this. We just did this like a minute ago. I mean, not exactly a minute, just a little while ago, a little bit ago. Okay, so I'm gonna start the engine. If the purge valve that we installed is good, this gauge is now gonna move, and it shouldn't move. So let's see. How is it? Is it moving? No? Perfect. That's what I wanted to see. Okay. I like that. So that tells me that we did the right diagnosis and we replaced the right component. We replaced the component that was faulty. So now I'm gonna reconnect this tube over here. Okay. So we got the tube over here reconnected. We're gonna replace one spark plug on camera, and then we'll do the rest. Then I will do the rest off camera. So let me get my spark plug socket here. So I'm gonna remove the plug on this coil first. I'm gonna disconnect the electrical connector of the coil. So we're gonna get this disconnected, and then we're gonna undo the coil bolt. So we're gonna fish out our spark plug. Oh, look how dirty this spark plug looks. Yeah, these plugs haven't been replaced in a while. You see that? You see this discoloration here? That's not good. All right, so now let me grab the new plug. So we got our brand new spark plug here. I'm gonna get it out of the box. Now, we don't have to adjust the spark plug gap on this one. Look how clean and nice this one is. Denso plug, original. So what you don't want to do is drop the spark plug in the spark plug hole. So we're gonna use this tool. I'm gonna grab the spark plug with this, and then gently insert the plug in the hole all the way down. You gotta make sure that it touches the bottom, and then we're gonna release it. And then we're gonna insert our socket. Start it by hand first, because we don't wanna cross thread the threads on the head, okay? And then we're gonna use our torque wrench to torque the spark plug. The torque spec for the spark plug is 15 foot-pound. I am using an inch-pound torque wrench, so I converted 15 foot-pound into inch-pound. So 15 foot-pounds equals to 180 inch-pound. So we're gonna torque this spark plug to 180 inch-pound. Right there. I hope you can hear the torque wrench click. That's good. So we have torqued our spark plug. That's good. So now we're gonna install our ignition coil, just like that. I'm gonna connect the electrical connector of it. We're gonna install the bolt. We're gonna tighten the bolt. And that's it. So this is how you remove and replace a spark plug. I'm gonna do the same thing on the rest of the cylinders. I'm gonna replace all of them, and then I'll bring you guys back up. So I have replaced all the spark plugs. So now I'm gonna install this little lock that goes over here on the fuel line. I hope you guys remember this lock that we disconnected last time. This is gonna go over here. There. Okay. Nice. All right. So our vehicle is fixed. Now I'm gonna put the cover that covers the back of the engine, the one that holds the wiper motor, and then we're gonna put the cowl back on, and after that we're gonna take this on a test drive. So I'm gonna get this piece over here. I have all the bolts for it right here. So we're gonna install this. This is gonna go, one side is gonna go in first. So now I'm making sure that everything lines up here. Okay, everything is lined up. Okay, very good. So now I'm gonna start installing all the 10mm bolts that hold that cover in place. And all these bolts are the same. Nice. So now we're gonna route our wire over here. Now we're gonna grab our wiper motor assembly. I believe it goes, no, this way. It's gonna go right here. Nice. And then these 10 long millimeter bolts, means these 10 long 10 millimeter bolts will go over here. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. This is pretty much the reverse process of the removal process. And then we're going to connect the electrical connector of the wiper motor. Nice. Okay, so now what's next? The next step is installing the cover that goes up here. Okay, so this is gonna go so we're gonna make sure everything is lined up just like that. Nice. So it goes in like this, it hooks in and then you push it in. And then once this is lined up, just like that. Nice. Easy peasy. We're going to install our wiper arms. Good. Now we're going to install the other arm. So I'm going to remove these nuts again because the cover, that little plastic piece over here that I saw covers this. Yeah, this is going to go here. Okay, always put it back the way you found it. There. That's how we do it here. Nice. Perfect. And then we're gonna install these little plastic covers that go over here on the side. Yeah, perfect. So that, there's another one that goes over here. I put it in the car last time. So here it is. This is gonna go right here. Nice. All right, so we are done. We put everything back together. So now I'm gonna close the hood. I'm gonna get the vehicle off the lift. We're gonna take this for a test drive. If everything that we did fixed the problem, when we test drive the vehicle, our fuel trim numbers will be a lot better. Remember before, at idle, and even when we were test driving the vehicle, our fuel trim numbers, short term and long term, were high positive. So now when we test drive the vehicle, our fuel trim numbers should be good. They should be within plus or minus 10% of total trim. So short term and long term, okay? So now I'm gonna get the vehicle outside and then we're gonna go on a test drive. All right, so we got the vehicle out of the shop. So now we're gonna go on a test drive. But before we do that, I would like to start the engine and show you guys the check engine light on the dash. Right now the engine is running under the hood. I hope you guys can hear it. Cameraman Kyler is gonna show you the check engine light that's on the dash. So right there. Perfect. So now I'm gonna turn off the engine. I'm gonna turn the key on. We're gonna erase the codes. Okay, we're gonna go in the engine computer. So I'm gonna focus on my fuel trim numbers to see if this is fixed. Right there, the scan tool has identified the vehicle. Let's do a full code scan. Okay, our lean code and our evap codes are still there in the engine computer. We're gonna have to erase all these codes and see. So let's wait a little bit for the scan tool to finish scanning all the control units on the vehicle. All right, the scan tool is finished scanning all the control units on the vehicle. So now I'm gonna erase codes out of all these control units. Perfect. So we got all the codes erased. Now let's go in the engine computer. Let's see if we have any codes there. No current codes. No history codes, so we're good. Now let's go to data display. Let's go to engine data 1. Let's customize this list. Let's grab our engine speed, data PID, mass airflow sensor data PID, map. Let's grab our, I wonder if I looked at the purge valve flow percentage data PID, if I could have found the issue early on. I mean, when we were testing this, but I wonder if I could have found the issue a lot quicker if I focused on the evap purge flow percentage data PID. But you know, it doesn't matter now. Just for the future, it's good to know. If you have, I mean, I know this, if you have evap codes and lean codes, it's always good to check your purge valve first, because 85% of the time, that's probably the issue. Okay, so these are the only PIDs that I want to look at for now. Okay, we're gonna focus on our fuel trim numbers. I'm gonna graph our long-term and short-term fuel trim number. Perfect. So now I'm gonna start the engine. So the engine is running. We went in closed loop. Check this out. We have minus 15% on the short term and we have 8.5% on the long term. This is great. This is fixed. Oh yeah, I love this. So right now, total trim is about minus 5%. Wonderful. This is way better than what we had before. So this is our total trim, short term plus long term, are both now falling into the plus or minus 10%, which is good. Okay, so now let's go for a quick spin. This is fixed already. I can tell that it's fixed. So as we're driving, cameraman Kyler is going to keep the scan data on the screen so you guys can see. But yeah, this is good. We don't have to go far. Let's just go up the road and then we're gonna come back and wrap up this video. Yeah, so defective purge valve, that was the problem. As I'm looking at the scan tool right now our total trim is 10%. So we have 10.1% on the long term, and then we have minus 0.7% on the short term. This is good. It's fixed. We did a good job. Nice. I know we're gonna have another happy customer. Our friend Sandy is going to be happy to have her car back. She told me that, you know, she took her car to I think she said 3 shops. They fixed it. There were some components that were replaced. The check engine light kept coming back. So I know the check engine light is not going to come back on this one. I mean, for lean codes. Maybe for something else, but not for what we did. Okay, so I'm going to turn around here. We're going to drive back to the shop. And then once we get back to the shop, we're going to wrap up this video. This thing drives well. Okay, so now, actually our second O2 sensor is putting out some data. I don't know, maybe the other O2 sensor was bad too. I don't know. You guys tell me in the comments, because remember the other O2 sensor was stuck at 0, but this one is going between, actually it's stuck at 0.7, which is good, which tells us that the catalytic converter is good. So this, I'm looking at this data feed over here. Okay, so our lean condition is fixed. Our fuel trim numbers are normal right now. We're good to go. Yeah, this is good. I like the numbers that I'm seeing right now. Very nice. Okay, so we are back at the shop. We're gonna clean this car, and then I'm gonna call the customer so she can come pick it up. Yeah, this is good. Very good. Yeah, I mean, I hope you guys can see the difference. I mean, you will see this when the scan tool is up on the screen. There's a huge difference between the numbers that I'm seeing right now and the numbers that we had before. Okay, so we're good. Hold on, let me turn off the engine. Let me turn the key on. Let me back out. Let's scan the engine computer again to see if there's a code that came back. Let's see. No codes present. Let's go to pending codes. No pending codes. We're good to go. All right, guys. So that's it. I'm going to leave this right over here. I hope you liked the video. This was an interesting one. I'm still thinking about that second O2 sensor that threw me off. That 00 values, the data that we got, and we replaced the sensor. I always hate replacing parts that shouldn't be replaced, because I don't like being a parts changer. I mean, I guess I was a part changer there. All right, anyways, we got it fixed. That's all that matters. We're gonna have a happy customer. I hope you like the video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumb down. But if you do, tell us why, so we can make better videos in the future. If you are not a subscriber to our YouTube channel, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified every time we upload a new video. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. And to you guys that are bringing your vehicles to us for service, I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you very much for bringing business to us. Cameraman Kyler, thanks for being here. See you guys next time.